Okay, I think this is working. Um, so just as I was yesterday, today I'm going to try to get through more. Where do I find my cursor here? There we go. Get through more days of curriculum for the Jam Coders program. So for context, this is a program to teach very accelerated intro to computer science. And I've done some teaching and lecturing before, but this is a new pace that requires me to really rework some of the material I've had before. And I thought it might be interesting to share what it looks like to go about creating material, creating content or curriculum for on the order of 100 students. Again, I'll just start off reminding myself here also what the schedule looks like. I'll be teaching 5 days, the first 5 days, an hour in the morning and an hour in the afternoon. So 10 lectures total, 10 hours. And the goal for the course here that I've written down, just to keep myself focused, is to build a core foundation of computational thinking through studying data structures and algorithms. And clearly, well, clearly is the wrong word here. This is an intense course. If you're gonna have 6 hours of classroom materials a day. So I have this challenge of the first week where I need to teach them the words and the grammar that they're going to use to later express data structures and algorithms. So I'm trying to set them up for being able to do computational thinking in kind of a very intense week-long Python boot camp. I'm thinking about it that way. So yesterday we took about 2 hours to look through the existing materials, and let me just figure out where exactly we got to. Lower connect here. We got to something good, which I think looks like this. So I can run this, it'll go and download some images, though they won't know what this is. And I have intro slides. The goal of my intro slides is to talk a little bit about why we're here, why we're in the classroom, and give some context on what this course is. And then I think, yeah, I'm going to spend 10 minutes just playing around with some cool stuff. So I think first, before I do anything else, oops. Yeah, see, this is what happens. All right, there we go. Yeah. So I might show them how we can make canvases of different colors. Whoops. What am I doing wrong? Ah, of course. This is what I need to do, isn't it? Yeah, there we go. So I'll probably run this and ask them their favorite colors. You know, what is red and green, and when we mix them? Okay, we get yellow. Let me add some blue. Ooh. Actually, don't know how much I like that. Oh, that's a nice orange. But then I think I want to show them what happens if we can make gradients. Ha! That's not right. Ooh. So we can do a range from green to orange. Maybe we can do something diagonal too. Something like that. That's kind of pretty. Ooh, wow. Well, my actual goal will be to jump on. We can do random colors. That'll be pretty fun. So I can run this again and again and get a few different canvases. And then I'm going to show them these mystery images. So I'll ask them where this is. And and they'll tell me this is one of the houses in it's a famous mansion in Jamaica. I picked a landmark. I'll show them a couple other images. I read that they really like football, so I'll recognize Ronaldo here. And then the fun thing will be to show them, like, you can start applying these filters over images. Okay, so at this point, we'll probably be about 20 minutes in, 30 minutes into the lecture. There's going over logistics, talking about what CS is, and then playing around with their input. Super important, getting their input, getting them to say things. And then I think I will go, just make sure this is working here. Yeah, this is working. Yeah, so my goal for this first lecture is to cover these basic building blocks of code. So I need to cover math operators, variables, printing, types, and comments. This is a lot. So I think, yeah, I'll probably do it in this order. Comments will probably come at some random point during. I'll even leave it out. And so my goal is to spend the last 5 minutes on types, because the lab material seems to cover types pretty nicely. If I have it pulled up here. Yeah, day 1, part A exercises. Errors. I think in the second half of the day, I will probably start with types and errors and go further with them. So we'll see that in a second. All right, in my pedagogy, I seem to be I really like terminology. I hear people argue about this. The thing is, students often, if they see something new, they want to name it, or they want to refer to it. And, well, I'll back up actually, and I'll say this. It's not necessarily that they need to name it, but they look for something familiar to grasp onto. And so when they see something, they'll look for the closest thing that they know. And the problem with that is that sometimes the closest thing that they know might have some subtle difference that's important. It's the reason why it's worth assigning kind of unique words to new concepts, because it forces them to kind of treat it as a separate thing, which I think has a lot of value. At least this is what I've found in my experience. So I'm going to introduce these 3 terms: operators, expressions, and evaluate. And I'm going to keep using these terms during the lecture. So the operator here is this double division. We actually call it floor division. That's what I'll tell them. Whoops. Got like a little moth here. Okay. I'll let him be. Okay, yeah. They're familiar with PEMDAS. I probably will ask them if they're familiar with PEMDAS. And exponentiation. Cool. Now these are all here. I'm probably going to actually have this up side by side, like next to my like in a separate screen when I'm teaching. And I will probably type all of this in as we go. So this is the final completed version, but they're going to see me basically fill this out. So cool. I start out with math operators, which is a good place to start, and then errors. Okay. Cool. That's really fun. I actually never knew this about Python. I'd never tried doing mod a negative value. That's very interesting. Okay. So after that, I'm going to talk about variables. This is kind of a strange, putting a variable at the end of a code block. This is the weird thing about Jupyter Notebooks, right? Whenever you have a cell, right? So if I come in here and I type 72, right? The last value in the cell, if the cell will output the last value if it's not none, whatever the thing evaluates to. But if you do x equals 72, nothing gets printed, right? Because if you were to do print, actually this won't even work. Y equals, does this work? No, okay, right. So you can't even, like, it doesn't even evaluate to like none necessarily. Right. So I think to not confuse them, I think I need to decide how I want to do this. Yeah, right. Okay. Okay. So x equals something, right, isn't technically an expression, I think. It's an assignment. It's a... well, let me check this. Let me check the official. Right, okay. It's not an expression because I think it's just a statement because it doesn't evaluate to anything, even though it takes an action. So I will probably... say now that we're working with variables, if you want a variable to be printed out, yeah, I'll say printed, right? Just do x. Yeah, cool. So I'll explain here again. This is an expression. So it gets evaluated, and x is 73, y is 2, and so the result is negative 71. Cool. You assign two variables by being on the variable on the left of the equal sign. The variable. This is a classic thing to talk about. Students get kind of confused. What's the difference between 1 equals x and x equals 1? Well, this is a syntax error because you can't assign, 1 here is on the left side of the equal sign. That's not possible. 1 is not a variable. It's a number. You can do y equals x plus 2, right? Okay. something like that. Yes, and I probably want to mention variable naming. So what are my rules here? I think I even have it in my slides. Yeah. Cool. So that's it. This is really simple. I still haven't decided how much I'm going to use my slides. We'll probably see the week of days before. So variable and printing goes together. I have errors there, and finally types. Introduce. Cool. Okay, so this actually roughly is correct. This is what I wanted. Maybe the only other thing I'm going to change here Daniel Kang's coder Daniel Kang, I think. Yeah. Okay, something like this. Okay. This is pretty nice. So I think I'm done with 1A. And as expected, it took another 20 minutes. I'm hoping that 1B goes much more quickly. So day 1, lecture 2. This is Boaz's lectures. I think here he goes and talks more about types. I don't like that he gets into lists. So I think I personally will stay off of lists for a little while. Unless I really have to. Oh, he's already doing it. Yeah, okay. I probably will start with some of these tricks because this like F string thing is really useful. Whoops. Let's see, what was my plan for the second half of the day? Okay, so it was to do more like control flow. Okay, so why don't we actually just do that? Okay, cool. I think I probably will still go take a look at Daniel's materials. Yeah, see, I like this. I kind of like that he waits to do string, boolean, and types. But, yeah, what can you do? And it's nice that he starts with a review here. Variables, types, errors. So I probably, yeah, here, probably will start with this. So I will download this 1B. Okay, and then I will come in here and there should be some way to do like a new notebook in Drive. Yeah, okay. It's this. Oh, funny. I see. Let's see what it does. And let me just move it. Okay, and I will just drag this over here so I can take care of it. Okay, so that guy needs to move. Okay, cool. And guy's in. All right, so my goal for, and let me just check what slides I want to keep. So I'm going to leave these. Yeah, I'm definitely going to talk about variables. I won't do this whole thing. I'm just going to get rid of input for now. Okay, I will leave all of these guys. Let's go figure out what we want for sure too. So yeah, I'm gonna open this up. 1B data types operators. Okay, reggae tiger. Maybe I'll use him as a. This is funny. Yeah, I don't think this will work. Maybe I'll just leave the bison for now instead of Howard. Jamaican hat. I don't know if I can do this. What are the hats called? Bucket hat. Glibart. I mean, wow, some of these would actually work just great. Like, see, this is pretty good. Maybe I'll just use that. So I will come back over here. I think if I remember correctly, there's a nice little way to yeah, this is I think a trick that you can do. See if you have an image. Okay, first, I don't need it to be this big. So I can trim it down to be a little smaller. But second, I think I can make the background clear. Yeah, there we go. So I will actually just like literally take that and drag it in. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Cool. I like including this. It's a fun fact why it was called Booleans. George Boole. Oh, I think George Boole. He was from, yeah, mid 1800s. Yeah, he came up with Booleans. Okay, integers. Not sure I want to teach them casting, but yeah, see, all right, I have a lot going on here. So actually, some of this might be good for lecture 1A. Yeah, okay. Now I need to think a little bit how I want to structure this. Because actually, the way I have this makes some sense. Yeah. Honestly, it would be ideal for me to wait to do strings till the second half. That's a compromise I would make. String types. Okay, so I think what I'll compromise on this. Yeah, see, this is a good lecture on its own. This would make me a good lecture too. What did I have planned for the second half? So, yeah, control flow. And they need it. No. Okay, so they don't need it. Okay, why don't we do this? This seems reasonable to me. So I could spend half a lecture on control flow and conditionals. Yeah. Yeah, this is tricky. No. Okay. I'm increasingly convinced. I think this should go in its own lecture. Yeah. Yeah, I kind of like this. So I think types should come in the second lecture. So I think I will leave that way, actually. It's comments. Yeah, this seems right. Expressions, operators, and variables. Yeah, and maybe Booleans. Yep, so I'll basically go through these slides with them. The thing is, I will want to keep these. Yeah. Actually, we'll take this back up here. Something on what programming is, what are languages, talk through variables. I don't think I'm going to do this whole thing. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, this is going to make more sense. Only thing is I'm going to take away this line here. But do they have to do the Boolean tables? Let's check the math that they're going to do here. Oh, this is 1b. Okay, that's why it's the truth table. I need to make this um, 3 times 11. Okay, now we're almost there. I think these bits will go in lecture 2 somewhere. So what I'm doing here is I'm trying to figure out if what I'm going to get to is expressions operators in print on this first day, very basic Booleans. So I'm not going to get into types yet. See, it's like I'm not sure why really pushing strings. Yeah, okay. I probably would want to give them some think pair shares. I need to make sure to come up with 2 per day. Okay, this is my lecture 1A. Okay, I think I know what I'm going to ask them here. Yeah, okay, so the main new thing will be this math operator here, modulo. So I think I'm going to ask them a think pair share about that. Right. Yeah, this is exactly how I'm going to do it. Think pair share. Share number 2. Variables. Oh, this is funny. This background music sounds really familiar. Of course it's familiar. This seems to be a remix of Billie Jean. Oh, didn't expect that for some reason. Okay, well clearly at a minimum, Yeah, this seems right to me. I feel like it seems kind of silly to okay. Yeah, so my lecture 1B will start with types. They have their own operators. Yeah. All right, I think this flow actually works. Oh, we talked about operators last time, remember? So operators are special symbols. It's a few different kinds that we use. There are Boolean operators, there's arithmetic operators, arithmetic, comparison operators, string operators. You'll see them. Okay. Okay, yeah, these slides should go in the previous lecture. Okay. And they did, in fact, go in the previous lecture. They're already here. Great. And problem 1B. There we go. Errors. We'll talk about length. Matching a truth table. All right, this is great. This is actually great. So do we need booleans for problems 1A? Cool. So basically the points will be data types more operators, and casting. Cool. To yeah, that's cool. I like Daniel's lectures here actually. This is a little bit too in the weeds. Actually, I disagree with Daniel here on the teaching order. Because what's really going on here, I don't really think about this as the order. It's more that right, like this is interesting. Yeah, it's a bit more subtle than I think it's worth. All right, string, not. See, like here it evaluates to false. False. think this isn't even a point that's super worth. Come back, review. Okay, there we go. Types, casting. And I think I will do exactly what I do in my lecture slides. Lecture 1A, let's come back over here. Yeah, there we go. So I need slides in here. That's 1B. Let's do this for 1A as well. There we go. This is close to done. I think I need to figure out, yeah, let me just see what problems 1A. Okay, yeah. Yeah, control, it's just too soon for control flow, and I feel like we need to slow down. Definitely too soon for lists. Yeah. Okay, and I think in 1B I'm going to take a while. Okay, no, I disagree with this here. Okay, cool. Yeah, this is good. Yeah, let's see. Strings are very handy. Use them up. I wonder what it was that I wanted to do with strings. Let's see what Vaz did with strings. Okay, maybe actually what I want to do with strings, use with strings. Names in Jamaica. George, Joseph. Gloria, George and Gloria. Let me try that, yeah. Gloria. Okay, that is probably most of what I want to cover in lecture 2. Okay, let me fill in. So I have a thing here where I keep track of my week 1. So let me actually just keep this updated. So I have my slides here and I will link my notebook. I'll go through and fix content access issues a bit later. Arithmetic, expressions. Okay, lecture 1B. I have my slides for that. And my notebook. I probably want to say something more about errors, don't I? Okay. I don't think I will explicitly talk about errors. I'm not sure that I want to do that, actually. I'm gonna get tea, and I'll be back. Okay, so lecture 1A, intro types. This is not entirely right, actually. Intro, arithmetic. See this demo. Arithmetic in variables. Yeah. And then the second lecture will be types. Operators. Types. Yeah, this is probably a good place to get. I mean, it just feels like it's too soon to start control flow. You know, this actually still makes a lot of sense to me. Because I think here's what I should do. Yeah. Variables, types, printing expressions, conditionals, operators. Maybe input. 2b can be while loops, for loops range. And I think day 3, 3a can be more loops functions, 3b advanced functions. Then day 4, scope. Yeah, definitely. Yep, yep. For a lists. Yeah, okay, actually, this works nicely, doesn't it? Yeah, because I think we want lists before we get to our loops. I wonder what I'm missing here. Okay, I'm starting to get an idea. What if input game making? Yeah, so what if we did something like this? For loops and range. I kind of like this, yeah. Okay. I think we're getting somewhere. I think we're getting somewhere. I'm going to take another 10 minutes now to get together the slides for 2A. But this outline of the curriculum actually makes sense to me. So what I'm thinking behind this is that the students are going to have a lot going on. And it might be nice to split material across 2 days because it gives a chance for the students who are struggling and the students who aren't struggling, I mean just everyone, all the students, to see material across multiple days, which seems advantageous. Like here, the point is, first of all, if they just see while loops on one day, they don't get confused between what loop to use. They're going to learn to use while loops. Then they're going to come in the next day, and I'm going to say an easier way, another way to use loops is for loops. Nothing scary, it's just a conversion from while loop to for. And I think I even have slides for this that should work nicely. Yeah, I'll play with this a little bit. Yeah, I remember struggling with this when I was teaching at Howard too, of what order I wanted to teach these in, for loops or while loops first. The nice thing is anything you can do with a for loop, you can do with a while loop. So the while loop is more general by definition. There are things you can do with the while loop that you can't do with a for loop. So it's kind of fun. Here, the way I taught this at Howard was for loops first, followed by, for loops because they're practical. They're actually going to help us do things. Yeah, I think I'm going to stop here for today. There's a bit more thinking for me to do on the ordering here. But I'm getting closer. My day 1 is down. I do again expect these other days to go much more quickly because I have the materials kind of made for them already. So yeah, I'll stop here.